All right. Peace, everybody. You're watching the Moors in America, the official broadcast for all information pertinent to the Moorish paradigm. And we have a very important broadcast for you today. First and foremost, before we get started, though, we always rise and give the highest praise to the Most High, our Father, God, Allah. We also extend honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality. And you know what? We extend honors to the forerunner, our brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And we're just going to go ahead and say we extend honors to everything Moorish, everybody out there, all the light bringers out there. Okay, so good evening, everybody. You're listening to the True and Living Light Bringer, Moors in America. As always, I'm your brother, Lloyd Douglas, also known as Sharif Ali. Here, we're uncovering and bringing glorious light to all issues pertinent to the Moorish American paradigm, because that's what we do here on this podcast known as Moors in America. Today, we're speaking with a good brother, Noble Hashim Ali. This is a brother I've actually been building with for a while. He's doing some great work. He's writing books, and he's putting some information together that all Moors should know, regardless of, you know, what religious background you have, whether you consider yourself Hebrew, Muslim, whatever, right? This is for all Moors. This is information actually the Prophet brought nearly 100 years ago, but that for whatever different reasons, we don't see it being practiced or taught. And so I really love how the brother put it together and put it in the proper perspective. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll give you some time to share this video, click like, let's get these algorithms up, get some more people in here, grab your friends, grab your family. This is something that we all need to hear and share. And when we come back, we're going to have our brother here, Hashim Ali, and this is going to be a great broadcast, and can't wait to hear what this brother has to share. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
My words become things, all hail the king, now I got him walking on water, covered in the blood of the Christ, a rubber glove and a knife. Prophet Muhammad came to restore the order. Spectators sit back and watch, slave ships pull off the dock, demigods round up the flock, time running short, got a race against the hands of the clock, 2020 something, pull it off the lot, posted on any block, you say a Henny shot, pour a libation for the fallen, it's been a lot of death, thefts, right over left, hard of a line right under my chest, that's a godlike, prolific, godlike, money longer than sloth and ab, the flock tight, meditation, slap boxing with Satan, cracking the.
Yeah, they say they want this more science, so I'ma give it to them. Islamism, no illusions when I'm interviewing. Know what I'm doing, no confusion, I ain't into crooning. I'm in the moving units, out here starting revolutions. In love with shooters, making masterminds out the goonies. I got them booming out here, zooming on the plane of soul. I tell them take me to the grove, they like Islam mode. I'm letting them know this not a show, this all systems go. It's two cells, one man, both high and low. I'm so spiritual, the indigos feel the vibe. I'm so lyrical, a miracle that I survive. Extend my 5 to the 4, I can see him coming. Plus my angel got the angle with the engine running. It's all justice, freedom, peace, truth, and love.
Alhamdulillah. You heard? More pheasants.
I am not a Negro, black, colored, African American. I'm a Moorish American. Peace.
Yeah. Hey, 5 on the right, 2 on the left, man. You know what time it is. Yo. We just Moors in America, soared through the shores and endured criminal acts of war on our character. 7 years after the 4th score, no reward. Shout out to the most courageous, they was jumping over barriers. Where does that compare to you? We come from a place where you scared to visit our area. We come from a place where it's scary for good Samaritans. Heavy luggage we carrying, babies having babies. It's crazy being American. Praise the one and only Allah, there's no comparison. La ilaha Ha'ila Allah, body and buried gin. Laughing at you clowns like ha-ha, dodging the Nephilim. Conquer lower self with the high, follow your regimen. Way before they came, we were gods, and now we specimen. Tried to take the light from our eyes, thank God for Edison. Then they put the wool on our eyes, it's so embarrassing. Now we travel frequently, we should invest in Sheraton. All of us got gold on our bodies whenever we stepping in. Screaming Ramadan, Mubarak, training the flesh again. Wishing we could move as a unit just like the Mexicans. Dodging all the foods with estrogen, synthetic medicines. All sin isn't devilish. Sometimes the decisions that you make come for a better gift. Sometimes when you sin is to relate to all your brethren. Heavenly gates all in our face, we the champions. We live in the sky, we see the angels on the chariots. Waiting on the $20 bill, facing Harriet. I bet you I'ma carry it. I'm in love with music to the point I wanna marry it. But my love for people is greater, so I write messages. Largest spending power, but we still sit at a deficit. Living amongst prejudice, even at our residence. Moors in America, flourishing, excellent. Let's buy up some neighborhoods and groom our own president. Yeah. And I come to you today with all intentions of spreading love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
All right. Peace, brother. Peace.
Peace, and blessings.
Man, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, it as always, it's a pleasure to have you here with us. And, I want to introduce everyone to you. If you could, please just let everyone know a little bit about your, where you're, how you came into this information. Just let us know a little bit about you, brother.
I came into Moorish science primarily in 2013 in Dayton, Ohio. I was been a registered member of the Nation of Islam since October 13, 2003. In the 18th anniversary of the Million Man March, there was a big banner in Tuskegee, Alabama for the event. And Noble Drew Ali was one of the big, and I just say big heads, but one of the big figures on the banner. And it was a opportunity to broaden the horizon, the viewpoint or the scope, you might say, of the believer in the Nation of Islam. There was also a good brother in Dayton, Ohio, Anthony Gaston Bay, who knew me personally and knew that I was an FOI and knew we had regular travels with one another. And he would constantly prod me and cajole me in different ways about nationality and the truths that Noble Drew Ali offered. And so from 2013 to today, I've been studying. That's a little bit about myself. I made a strong point in the book, in the pamphlet, that I wanted to limit myself. All of us, particularly as men, have egos. I have one of my own, but this document is not about me. Everything I said about myself in the document, that I went to Arizona State University. I studied small business, that I also studied communications. I'm also a certified paralegal. I studied at University of Auburn. all things that are specifically relevant to a doctrine of economic security. So specifically dealing with Noble Drew Ali's language, dealing with his words, dealing with his phrases that particularly, specifically deal with business, money, finance, and the like.
All right, Islam, brother. And so you were in Fruit of Islam, man. I really admire the Fruit of the Islam, especially, with the teaching of discipline, the eating right, training the body. I love that, brother. If you could just drop some jewels on us about that, just your time. I'm not sure how long you were practicing, but just let us know some of the I guess similarities you see between that and maybe with Moorish nationality.
Beautiful. In the pamphlet of Doctrine of Economic Security, I address nationality right up front. We get into the Quran question of Moorish Americans. You said nationality, and one of the great things about nationality is the understanding that nationality and business are connected. So Elijah Muhammad did business. When you become a fruit of Islam, that second day, you might say you get a stack of newspapers, and as a missionary, to go out and serve the word, but also as a businessman to exchange and trade and commerce, because you get a commission off of the newspaper. So you'll see also in the writings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you'll see him say something, quote unquote, a sound economic program. Let me say it again, quote unquote, a sound economic program. And you'll see the exact same thing in the writings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so Elijah Muhammad, many know as Elijah Poole Bey, was able to take the teachings, because Minister Farrakhan taught us that we stand on the shoulders of the Moors. So we know, again, Elijah Poole Bey was able to take those teachings and take it into another decade, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, as a fruit of Islam, you come in and you learn to train, that a fruit is constantly training and conditioning himself to meet over all obstacles in his path. And you're also learning to clean yourself up, as you said, physically, also spiritually, learning to study the Quran, learning to study the teachings of Islam, learning that God is man and man is God. We learn, just like we do in the Quran questions, that where do we find Allah? We find them in our heart. We find them in ourselves, that we're not looking for a mystery God. Again, as a FOI, that we're also always training, and we're also engaged in trade and commerce. So you sometimes, depending upon which city you'll see a brother in, not only does he have his newspaper, but he might have some incense, he might have some oils, or he might have other products or services, all language that you will find again in the Doctrine of Economic Security, that this man is out again as a missionary, engaging with the people, giving them the truth, sharing the truth, allowing them to see light in and of yourself, being able to exchange dialogue, not on a lower level, but on a higher level, with the teachings of Islam, industry, science, law, arts, mathematics. We learn knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, so that we could build a higher civilization. And those are just some of the things that you might say in comparison to the Moorish Science Temple of America, and connecting my travels as a fruit, that a fruit is always training and conditioning himself, and that the fruit, FOI, meaning the fruit of Islam, which is the name given to the military training of the men that belong to Islam in North America. And the quite frankly is, you can't be a man in America or across the world and not have some money. But having money is one thing, but having an economy is another thing. So being able to circulate your money in your own community, to be able to provide jobs and employment, all again language in the Doctrine of Economic Security, the writings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So as a fruit, I learned how to circulate my money amongst my brotherhood. I was selling bean pies here in the Washington, D.C. area. Somebody say slinging bean pies. I had my Final Call newspaper. I had bean pies. I had oil. I had incense. And at one point I was a lieutenant, so I had a squad. So I wasn't just making money for myself. I was showing other brothers how to make money, how to put money in their pocket, how to maybe have a job, but also be able to do something for themselves. As Prophet Noble Drew Ali and Elijah Muhammad, or Elijah Poole Bey, said, we must have a sound economic program. So through cooperative efforts, and just like me and you, brother, when you shared the documents with me that you shared, we learned brotherhood in the FOI, because we live in a world where the original man like to pull one another down, to say negative things, call ourselves out of our own name. But in the FOI, we learn a brotherhood, and how, as they teach in Islam or the Ummah or the brotherhood, that it is righteous to associate and do business and have proper dealings with your brother, and to stay amongst the righteous in a world that is so filled with sin and sickness. So those are some of the things I share.
Islam, brother, you put that so beautifully. You know, I want to ask everybody watching, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you share this. All right, share this video. But brother, that's beautiful. We definitely honor the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The way I see it, you know, he definitely carried on what the prophet started. You know, and back in 1928, 1929, when the prophet made the transition, the temple had in some cases been infiltrated. There were businessmen that positioned themselves around the prophet, and they specifically wanted to take over. They saw the money that was coming in, and maybe they had other agendas. We don't know, but we know that, you know, they tried to stagnate it. And, you know, that's really all that we see as far as carrying that movement forward. You know, moving forward with the economic plan was our brother, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know, the Nation of Islam, they had the bakeries, they had the grocery stores in various cities, and, you know, it's beautiful, you know. And then we saw the Minister Farrakhan come and get that started back up, you know, after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made the transition. So that's, you know, definitely beautiful, and that's definitely somewhere where we see that continuing on, you know, to this day. So we definitely give respect to the nation on that note. And you know, I'd really like to speak about your book. Now, what made you put this together? If you could, let's get that back up on the screen for the people. If you could just tell us the, you know, what's the doctrine of economic security? Why did you choose that name?
Well, the doctrine, again, you know, I tried very hard, brother, to stay specifically with our brother Nipsey Hussle, the rapper. He said, "Stay on script, you know, stick to the script." And that quote, "The doctrine of economic security is by no means as widespread and intensive among Americans," look what he said, "of our group as the circumstances demand, and the more written and said on the subject, the better." So that's a direct quote from Prophet Noble Drew Ali that really spoke to me. You know, the other quote that he said that also spoke to me is that there's nothing more important than the of economic security. And I'll be honest, you know, tonight is a very special night. You know, I'm kind of coming out the closet, not the closet that other people come out of. You might say I'm coming out of the prayer closet, but it's our Hebrew, or you might say crypto Jewish lineage that I've been following a trail of crumbs from my ancestors. And so as a young man in Washington, D.C., my father was a lawyer. I never saw my father work for anybody. I never saw him punch the clock. He transitioned a little over a year ago. So I've been doing a lot of reflecting. But as a young man, he put me in wrestling. I excelled at the sport, and I was able to have a lot of educational opportunities because of the sport. So I was able to study business. I was able to have a foundation of what the stock market is, the language of business. I consider myself the type of investor they call a value investor. Because of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I do believe in gold and silver and precious metals, not fiat currency. There's a lot of civic relationships that I have in agreement with our brothers and sisters that exercise their civics and Moorish science rights. And so just in my background as a student of business, you know, graduated studying business and communications, looking at the language of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, knowing that at one point he had a very significant empire, businesses operating in different locations, and knowing that he said to preach economic security, and knowing that I hadn't heard it, that I was looking for it, but I hadn't heard it. And I went here and I went there, and I would say honestly that there is nothing in the marketplace. That's a word Noble Drew Ali uses, marketplace. That can mean various meanings. The marketplace, like the supermarket, or that can mean the market of any product that is in a market in a competitive advantage or a competitive situation of other products. So when the book market or the pamphlet market or the literature market, where books are sold and traded, I have not found any book specifically about Noble Drew Ali that deals specifically with business, that deals specifically with finance. And when I read his language, that he was not at a small level. He was at a higher level from my perspective. He was at a higher level in talking about finance and talking about business enterprise. He talked about the Moorish upliftment fund. And I said, is this like a stock fund? Is this like an index fund, like a mutual fund of modern day and time in the 20s? Because that would be very advanced for a person so-called Negro, Black, or colored of that time. Maybe not for more, but it inspired me to really look into the history of Noble Drew Ali and the businesses and to really seek out. And I found very little specific information about the businesses. I had to kind of scour and to look deeply to find out, again, addressing economic security. And so looking at these words that, again, that they're pregnant, there are very, very many words, sentences, paragraphs, pages that come from economic security. Let me give you an example. Economic, that's one word. Economy is another word. Economics is a study. All of them are very different words and have different meanings. But doctrine is another word. And a synonym of doctrine is a creed. Now we study in the teachings of Noble Drew Ali. He talks about the Islamic creed. But a doctrine of economic security, it just sparked my intelligence and it bothered me. My intellect, it sparked my intellect and it caused me to go deeper. And the deeper I went, the more the words of Prophet Noble Drew Ali stuck with me. And so the doctrine of economic security, it sounded so profound the way he put it. But what is a doctrine? He didn't say what it was. He said it's by no means as widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand. Now, these are the roaring 20s. So we didn't have great circumstances. This is right before the Great Depression. The circumstances were not great for our group, as he said. Our group, the circumstances were not great. And again, am I hearing it? I hear a lot about law.
If I could add something to that right there. So when he's saying the preaching of economic security among us is by no means as widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand, that's letting it be known, right? We're missionaries. We are to go out there and to bring the message, to spread the message. So that means this is a part of our mission, right? And this is divine, right? Like you said, the doctrine, right? The economics. So now this mission, words from our prophet. So we are charged to go out there and increase our economic security. Absolutely. And I give the floor, brother.
Absolutely. And so that missionary work, to bring knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and light to a people in darkness, to bring upliftment of fallen humanity. But how do you uplift fallen humanity? In one short word, you can say with some money. That's a start. Because even with the wisdom that you have, the prophet said, I need finance. And I need it badly. He didn't say money. He could have said money. And this is not a lightweight figure, right? So every word, again, is pregnant and rich. He said, I need finance. Well, if you go to California and you go to what they call the area of venture capital, they'll give you financing for your operation. They have a show called Shark Tank where they're wheeling and dealing about a business that a person has started, a business enterprise, and they are attempting to make a deal in which they are financing that operation so that operation can continue. Just like your beautiful family, dear brother, that you have children, a wife that you have to continue. And how do you continue? You do so through feeding your children, which costs money, by clothing your children, which costs money, by housing your family, which costs money, or should we say not simply money, but the trade of a medium. He used the word medium, a medium of exchange. So we use the fiat dollar for a medium of exchange. We may also buy an ounce of silver, trading at approximately $19.40 today. It's a medium of exchange. You may say, you know what, brother, I know you got a chicken. I'm hungry. I want that chicken. I will trade you my cat for your chicken. And those are just medium of exchanges. And so again, as missionaries, we are out to do the work. But if we reflect on how this nation started, it was through the recognition of the Moroccan flag, the recognition of the United States flag coming into the ports of Morocco. Why did Morocco, as the first nation to recognize America as a nation, why did they recognize it? Was it because George Washington was cute? Because he was funny? He had good conversation? Absolutely not. It was because of trade and commerce. There are many records on file of George Washington writing to the Sultan of Morocco. Dear Sultan of Morocco, your highnessy, how wonderful and great your kingdom and majesty is. About that money we owe you, we're going to get that to you as soon as we can. We're going to get our agricultural businesses going, and then we will soon be able to pay you what we owe you. And that's talking about debt. It's talking about payables receivable, payables accountable. All of this is rich language. So the prophet says somewhere, dear brother, but he said, if I could just get the people to think, I want you to think about some money. Because, you know, we have wife and children. The children say, hey, daddy, I'm hungry. You don't say, well, we fasting today. You know, daddy, I'm hungry. You say, well, nationality is order today. So you can't say that. You got to have something to feed your child. Not only wisdom, but substance, material substance for your children.
Oh yes, definitely. And so as you were saying, like I agree with you that you know, I haven't been hearing this as well or seeing this being practiced. And not saying that there's no good people out there that are, you know, participating in commerce and that are actually, you know, following the divine plan of the ages. But you know, it's something that we for whatever reasons it's practiced. We still are in the same situation that the prophet stressed back in 1928 when he said it's by no means as widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand. So even though that was pertinent then, it's even more pertinent now in, you know, 2022 or 2023. It's even more pertinent right here in the modern day and age, right? That we are, you know, have our own grocery stores, right? Everybody needs food. We need our own, you know, we need control of our own water supply, right? We need to make sure that our water's clean. There's no telling what's in the water. You know, we had there was somebody that came out. Maybe if you go into stores like Home Depot, there's people in there selling the water treatment things for your home. And so the guy came here and he tested the water. And man, once he gets through like running the test on the water, you know, even on the bottled water, like it's like pool water, you know, it's so bad for you. And I only say this because just to get back to that, we need control of all of these things, everything that we use and need on a daily basis. And even in beginning to provide these things for ourselves now, we are taking part in business, right, in economics. And also we can provide something that others may need because, you know, even in just growing crops, as you used an example of like you want some chicken, we're trading in chicken. If we're growing crops and we're doing it in a clean and sustainable way, obviously that there's a market for that even beyond our community, right? I mean, a lot of people are looking for that right now. You know, you go somewhere like Chipotle, you see the ingredients, everything's supposed to be sustainably sourced. So there's definitely a market for everything that we could potentially have. So if you really look at it from the standpoint that we're in, we have unlimited potential. You know, it's an untapped market. There's so many ways we could go with this, brother. And you know, I love that you put this together. Could you please just expound on that a little bit more, just going back into the doctrine of economic security. Do you have any thoughts on why this isn't being taught or practiced as the prophet intended?
Well, we always believe that there's a higher power working. And so without passing judgment on others, without criticizing others or pointing fingers, to look at myself, to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing? We all have that commandment of uplifting fallen humanity. And so the study of the prophet's program is a systematic program. He gave specific business enterprises to start with. And so the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, whose teacher, the teacher he sent, said, we stand on the shoulders of the Moors. So the teaching was that the farm is the engine of your nation. The farm is the engine of your nation. Now, you have nice wheels. That's good. You can have a transmission. That's good. The radio can be, great and wonderful. But if you don't have an engine, if you turn that key and your car or your nation does not go, or does not have a gross national product, or does not have natural resources that which it can barter and acquire the things that it needs, that where it could produce the things that it needs and sell it surplus, then you're in a dependent situation. So the great prophet Noble Drew, he said we need grocery stores. So that was a specific direction. We start off with a temple. We must have a school, but everybody eats. So that is a market, as he said, going back to the words, that is a market or an industry that nobody is not in. Everybody's in that market. Everybody is engaged. Every day you go to buy something, you're engaged in trade and commerce specifically for food. And we know that food can kill us and food can heal us. And so why not be in control? We have issues today, looking at modern day and time today, October 11, 2022. Starting in 2020, they said there were significant supply chain issues. Supply chain, look at that word, supply chain. What does that mean? Because again, it's rich. That means logistics, transportation, warehousing, inventory, the development of your product, all of those parts of your car, you might say, for example, all of the parts that make up that one car have to be acquired from somewhere. They have to be procured, is that business language, right? Procured. And so when it comes to food, we want to procure everything ourselves. We want to employ our own. We want to circulate our dollars amongst our own. So in this great book called The Accomplishment of the Muslims, it shows the properties, the real estate of Elijah Muhammad, the farmland of the nation of Islam before the most honorable Elijah Muhammad transition. It shows that he was buying fish from Peru, having the brothers get the fish unloaded from the docks, like the forerunner, the great Marcus Messiah Garvey, who gave us the Black Star Line. Like him, he went, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and did business with Peru, getting tons of fish. And so what do you do with the fish? Well, he put them in a warehouse for a period of time that were air controlled. But then he would have his fruit, his brothers, his sisters transported to different mosques where he controlled the grocery, the restaurant. He had farms where they had meat packing plants not too far away, where they would kill the cow and slaughter the cow in certain fashion, the goat, the lamb, and creating jobs. How he would create a meat packing plant, and from the meat packing plant, the meat would be broken down and sent out to his own grocery stores. So all of the parts of the supply chain, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad was mastering what they call vertical or horizontal supply chain. He was mastering all of those parts. He said, we want to have everything. He made his own newspaper. We know he saw the Moorish guide being circulated, right? We know he saw maybe the NAACP magazine being circulated. I think it was The Crisis. Maybe he saw I think it was the African World by Marcus Garvey being circulated. So he came with the final call to Islam, and later Muhammad Speaks. But he had his own warehouse where he controlled the writers, where he controlled what went into the paper. He said, I control everything, but now I need to go and buy timber. I need to go and buy timber, because if the white man does not want to sell me paper, we say the white man, but using the words of Noble Drew Ali, we would say the pale-skinned Europeans from the pale-skinned European, the nations of Europe. If they don't want to sell me paper, then I am dependent upon them, and I cannot produce my own newspaper. So he did everything, starting with agriculture as a business, as a engine. When you turn that key and it turns on, that is your fruits and your vegetables, your meats, your produce. All of those are the basis, the foundation. So, dear brother, whatever industry you're in, whatever business you're in, whatever sport you play, there's always going to be fundamentals. So I was looking for the fundamental teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, not a commentary of what somebody said, not the analysis or summary of what somebody said, but the fundamental teachings. When I say fundamental, I like to use the example of a basketball game. We love LeBron James, one of Ohio's own, the no-look pass behind the back, through the legs, the reverse dunk, but that's not our fundamentals. Can you dribble with your left hand? Can you dribble with your right hand? Can you do a layup to the left side of the basket? Can you do a layup to the right side of the basket? Can you shoot a free throw and make 10 out of 10? Can you play defense? We're talking about the basics and the fundamentals. So studying the doctrine of economic security, he said to go buy a grocery store through cooperative efforts. So to provide employment for our people. If you look at quote unquote black business in America, if you look at Moorish business, you will find the same, that most of our businesses, we employ ourselves or one or two people. We're not building institutions or corporations that have 10 and 20 and 30 and 50 people. So Elijah Muhammad, he was able to employ people in various cities. So they employed me when I got that stack of newspaper. Final call, come and get it. Final call, latest edition, latest and the greatest. How you doing, sister? Would you like? Dear brother, would you like? And so I'm developing my sales skills. I'm developing my go-get-it attitude, my missionary skills. My mother would joke me. She said, "Oh, you're a paper boy." No, Mom, I'm a messenger of God. No, Mom, I'm an angel. He said, what is an angel? What do angels do? They take messages to the four corners of the world. And what is our prophet? Right? What is our prophet? So he's giving us messages. In the message, he's telling us the sequence to buy businesses or to start businesses. That Moorish upliftment fund, brother, that's a that's a whole lot in that one. The Moorish upliftment fund. This brother was beyond his years in his ability to do business, to finance business, to raise money. And I like the way you told me, brother. You said he made his announcement that he was the prophet, and then he went on tour. What did he go on tour for? To raise money. I need finance, and I need it badly.
Yes, and I definitely I'm in agreement with you there. If farming, owning land, growing crops, they everything we need. Important. I'm sure everybody sees Bill Gates up on the screen. Why is he now, the owner of the largest owner of farmland, and maybe in the planet, but it definitely in America, right? So it's definitely important, and it's something that can't be left out. And if we're doing this for ourselves, once again, that's a opening up so many lanes for us, because for those that eat meat, if we're doing meat in a halal way, there's now a huge market for halal meat or kosher meat, that's prepared, in this fashion. And so there's so many lanes for us. You shared a video earlier. This is getting me to thinking about something that you shared earlier in the Amish marketplace, the grocery store. Do you mind if we play that video?
Let's do it.
All right. And if you could, maybe
my 44th birthday.
Oh man, that's a blessing right there. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you could, if you want to just provide some commentary for us about that experience.
Well, September 23rd, just a few days ago, we're still in my my constellation. I went to the Amish market in Laurel, Maryland. For my birthday, I like lamb. That's my favorite meat. It's a Hebrew tradition, and lamb is very expensive. But I also want my lamb, without injections, without any foreign substances in it. And so I've been doing business with the Amish uh, almost 20 years because I believe in their product as a clean product. They practice a religious way of life, and so their food is grass fed. Their animals are not abused. They handle business in a certain manner. I've been buying milk, raw milk, real milk, not the milk that I call the white water in stores that they boil for an hour and say it's milk. But I buy
if I can say one thing to that, like with the milk, we used to live overseas in South America, and like the milk there doesn't have to be put in the refrigerator, and like the butter. And so like that makes you, when you come back here, wonder about this stuff. Like, why do we have to refrigerate these things? So definitely, it's amazing to be able to get a hold of natural products.
There's a website called realmilk.com. And, if it's not real, then I guess the opposite of meaning is fake milk.
Yeah.
So realmilk.com is a place where I met Amish online that were selling their products. And again, I started doing business with them, because of the milk. And so the first time I went, I was so impressed with their operation because this is a building where they're only there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 3 days out of the week. They come from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and bring in all of their products in only 3 days a week. And that place is packed. It's packed. I come in, I get a number. I'm like number 39. They're on number 2, and it's packed with people. And they employ, it's got to be 40, 50, people that they actually employ. And all of the products are their products. They have a few vendors that come out, from different places. They may procure some of the vegetables, from different Amish farms throughout the country. But to see the function that they have, to see their operation, going back to the words of the Doctrine of Economic Security, seeing their business economic program, seeing how they got their own people working, their own people in uniforms, doing the same thing. Nobody's got the Gucci belt on. Nobody's got the red or the black. Everybody's got on the same thing. Everybody's doing the same thing, which is working. Everybody's collecting or drawing revenue or value from working with their brethren. So they don't have to go day in and day out and work with people that are not of their own group. Let me say that again. You don't have to go in and day in, day out and work with people not of their own group. They work with their own. They have their own ways. They have their own standards. They have their own norms. They don't have to change it up or code switch, because they talk with a Dutch accent. So this place is just so impressive. Again, all of it's real food. It's not the food with a whole bunch of preservatives. They got a little restaurant in there, and man, that place is packed. So I said, I'm going to talk about cooperative economics on my 44th birthday. I'm going to take this short video and I'm just going to walk around and let everybody see this incredible operation because we can do the same.
That's right. That's right. And, this is actually what it was similar to, back in the day when the Prophet got this up and running. Our people had their businesses, they had their markets, their groceries. And, of course, I'm sure it wasn't just our people coming in and patronizing these businesses, but, you had the place where you could go to and get the things that you needed and also be employed by your own people. And what we were supposed to do, or I guess what the ideal would be to build on that. But now we're at a point where we need to, we're starting over from square one, right? There's certain things that transpired that got us to the point where our community's at now, where we don't have control necessarily of our communities and of the businesses in our communities as a whole, right? But this is what was actually occurring in the early 1920s, and at this time you had also people from other countries coming in and doing the same thing, right? And then starting Chinatowns and in different areas like that, so that they could get their foothold and, build up their economic strength. So we were doing the same thing, right? And it's like we need to get it up and running. So the opportunities are there, brother. And on that note, I want to yield the floor to you, Islam, bro.
That's a great point about Chinatown. I went to Oakland not too many weeks ago, and our hotel was directly across the street from Chinatown. And one point that the great Prophet Noble Drew Ali makes is that, you know, we have to have involvement in politics. He makes that point very clearly, that we have to be involved in politics even before we can have business programs. Somebody might argue with me, somebody might argue with him, but I'm taking his words according to which one comes first. You know, he talks about politics and he shows the example, and particularly in this great book by our brother Hopkins Bey, Azim Hopkins Bey, A Savior of Humanity. It's one of my favorite Moorish books on Prophet Noble Drew Ali. You know, he highlights the work that he did politically and the political influence that he had. And so it is through politics that you get a Chinatown. It is through politics that you run your neighborhood, that you create demands on your the government said to be in power or said to control purse strings. So when you have a vote, again, that's trade and commerce. What are you trading for your vote? What are you getting in exchange for your vote? Some people say, we don't get nothing. Well, what did you ask for? How many people did you come with? Noble Drew Ali had a voting block. A voting block. The word he talks about is cooperative acts. So working in cooperation, we're taught a rigorous individualism in America. But that is not how nations work. That is not how groups of people dominate in the marketplace. If we talk about the Torah, if we talk about the Bible, in Genesis 1, it says he gave to man dominion over the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea, and every creeping thing that crawls. Dominion, going back to Noble Drew Ali's words, dominion to dominate in the marketplace. But how do we begin? How do we get started? By coming together, like the Moorish American Society of 1933, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. These brothers got together, these sisters got together, and he had been associating in their own society and had their own cultural norms for an extended period of time, so much so that they appealed to the government, the politics, the politicians, and said, we need X, Y, and Z. We need X, Y, and Z. And therefore, today, me and you, brother, we can go to the record books and draw from that which they put on the record and say, you know what, we have been in a society, we've been socializing for this amount of period, and we can bring that document to other politicians and let them know that we have a voting block. We have 20 or 30 of or 40 of us that are ready to back a politician that will back whose platform? Our platform, a doctrine of economic security. So you look at different groups of religious bodies or bodies that are of a nationalistic descent, go to the school board and say, I want X, Y, and Z for my children. They'll go to the city council, to the council person and say, you know what, you represent me and I pay taxes and I want a new playground at my facility. I want my sidewalks enlarged. I want better street lights. So I want X, Y, and Z. And because I'm willing to trade my vote, because I have something to offer, I'm willing to trade something that is valuable. That's a word, right? In the language of the prophet, value. You have something of value to trade in exchange for what I'm asking you to give me. And so you have to put your place, set yourself among the affairs of men. What kind of affairs? Political affairs, economic affairs, judicial affairs, agricultural affairs, all of the society. So if we look at it from a Judaic perspective, some will say that great prophet Noble Drew Ali came from a Hebrew lineage. So if I look at it from a Judaic perspective, that is the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes representing 12 families or 12 family businesses. And so when we deal with family business, dear brother, we are talking about our inheritance. Ooh, that's a rich word. That's a rich word right there, because we inherited the language from Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We inherited wisdom from Noble Drew Ali. But like the Jesus in the Bible, he says, I go around sowing seeds. Some will fall on rocky ground and some will fall on fertile ground. What kind of ground is this? What kind of ground? Where did I come from? I come from the earth. What did my mother do when I was in her stomach? She ate food. She was pregnant, but she grew me on a diet of food. But what was she reading? What was she thinking? What was her mental diet? What was her spiritual diet? So we have to read the Circle 7 Quran, where it talks about Mary in Zone, or the school of Zone, and the mother of John the Baptist, or the Harbinger, the school that they went to. But how did the school get funded? Who was the cafeteria lady at the school? How did the textbooks get paid for? It was through our ancient priesthood, dear brother, that we were selling apples. We would have honeybees in the backyard. We're selling honey, raising money for our children. And so when I sold that Final Call newspaper, that was a part of my sales pitch. What I want that paper for? What that for? Do you support God-centered education? Well, this is how we pay for our school at the Muhammad University of Islam. Oh, yes, I do. Let me get you some money there, brother. And we make a trade, an exchange. And so again, it's always coming back to trade and commerce. Everything in life that we do is business. And so we have to have the right mindset that it's not about an individual, it's about a group economics. We have to circulate dollars. So money is one thing, but trade and commerce is another, because money is like blood, where we circulate the blood through our body, going from our head to the bottom of our feet, 8 minutes and 20 seconds, like the rotation of the earth at 1,037 and 1/3 miles per hour. We need that circulation of the blood, just like the earth is continually rotating from the sun, the sunlight, the wisdom from the sun, not the son of man, but the physical sun causing the earth to rotate. So it is the wisdom of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the light that he has given us, that we can cause our lights, our families to rotate, our communities to rotate. And if we don't have blood circulating, then a limb might fall off. You know, you might have to get it cut off because it doesn't have blood flowing to it. So we need that money to circulate through our communities. We need that money to be a part of cooperative acts, where if you have a business, well, your business is 2 miles up the street, and there's the same business right across the street from my house. Well, he is from my own group. And because he listens to the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we know his location is clean and that he is ready to serve any of the quote unquote buying public. These are the words of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So not only are we serving people of our group, particularly through food, but we serve all groups because we are clean. We are practicing righteousness. We are practicing goodness. We are uplifting fallen humanity. And so people want to do business with us. Politicians want to do business with us, not because we're criminals, not because we're shady or giving them a bribe or somehow engaged in an unrighteous activity, but we're engaging in the beautification of our communities. We are uplifting our communities. The great brother Elijah Poole Bay, he said to respect and protect the Black woman. I know we don't like that term, and we're going to get into talking about Black here in a second. He said respect and protect, we'll say, the Moorish woman. But how do you get her respected and protected? Well, that gun you want, it costs some money. That weapon you want, it costs some money. But that garment, that fine garment, because she's a fine creature. She's the second self of God, and she should have the finest of things. Well, how do you do it? How do you get it for her? Through trade and commerce. And then so this wisdom that Prophet Noble Drew Ali gave us in a doctrine of economic security makes us not want to be Black, because when you study the accounting, there's a term, it says in the Black. In the Black, not being Black, not I am Black, but you want a business that is profitable, where your income exceed your expenses, so that you are a profitable institution, and therefore you are in the Black. And so you want a business that's in the Black. When your accountant tells you in the Black, that's a positive thing. When you are not in the Black, well, you got some more work to do.
That's right, man. And you said something about the word Black. If you could just share your thoughts about that. You were about to speak on that terminology.
Well, there's a saying: you get more, you get bees from honey with you get more with honey as opposed to vinegar or something of that
Yes.
nature. Many of my Moorish brethren have, gone, you might say, overdosed in a certain sense, which there's a correctness there, but it's like an overdose. And the term black, which we have been branded. We have been branded that, and we can admit that. And now today, the word has expanded such that it's across the planet. So Africans may, in some sense, have their own nationality, but say, I'm black too. Whether that's right or wrong, you can make that conversation. But we have to speak sometimes in a manner in which people understand you. And so you might say the black peoples of the world, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie from Ethiopia. We say Ethiopia, the demarcation line. In Haile Selassie, when he came to visit, and we read in our Quran questions about King Solomon. Excuse me, it does not say King Solomon. It says King David.
Yes.
And comma Solomon.
Solomon. Yeah.
But Haile Selassie, representing a nation, representing a monarchy, representing authority and power. He came to America, I think it was on 3 different diplomatic trips. In one of the trips, he said, we, the black peoples of the world. So he had a certain perspective of the black peoples. And so we know that great prophet Noble Drew Ali said, black according to science means death. Well, according to science, but there's more than one definition. Yes, we want to attach ourselves to the identity of being a Moor and the history, the heritage, the culture of being a Moor and what that means to be a Moorish American, a descendant of Morocco, but born in America, and how we can link ourselves back to our divine history, heritage, and culture. But to speak in a way that our brothers and sisters understand us is a teaching method called association. You have to be able to associate or create an image in your mind to create understanding of what you are attempting to learn. So when you say, we're not black, 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 we're not black. Okay, well, what else are we? What else? So there's a bit of an overdose, you might say, of the blackness. I understand what it means. According to science, we mean death. According to accounting, being in the black means profitable. If you go, dear brother, to the highest court in the land, what does the judge put on? He puts on a black robe. If you go outside and it's dark outside, people get fearful possibly because they never know what comes out of the darkness of space, the darkness of the womb, the darkness of the mind. So black is not all a bad thing. The darkness, we came out of darkness into the light. We spent 9 months inside of our mothers in darkness. The Quran says triple darkness in the womb. And so we don't want our minds to be in triple darkness. We want our minds to be filled with light. So we want to share light in a certain manner that is attractive, is magnetic. As you said, as a missionary, having the word of God, the word of this great God, Allah, teaching knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, refinement, so that we can build a high civilization. We have to have a methodology. So when I would sell my Final Call newspaper, I would make sure that my nails were cut, that my hair was cut as well. Like Noble Drew Ali said, that we washed and we commit ablution, that we are clean when we come to the people. I make sure that my teeth is brushed. I make sure that I put on some smell good. So when I just wave the paper by, you like, ooh. So as a FOI, as a fruit, meaning a fruit coming from the tree being the best part of the tree, where all of the nourishment comes from, where the tree has deep roots rooted in the ground, but it draws from the roots, the wisdom of God. The wisdom is drawing from, creates fruit, just like this book is a fruit of your and my works today, your and my dialogues. You blessed me to share some of the literature I was having a hard time finding, and we were able to put something together for us to better study the literature now. So we have fruit that came from the prophet Noble Drew Ali, but we want to represent well. We don't want to be no GMO fruit. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to be rotten fruit. We don't want to be bad smelling fruit. We want to be magnetic fruit, attractive fruit. We want to say, we want children to say, I want that man to be my father. We want women to say, I want that man to be my husband. We don't want them to say, all he talking about is we not black. Yeah, that's all he talking about. We not black. Well, what else do you have to say? We have also a doctrine of economic security where we believe in doing something for ourselves, where we believe in cooperative acts, where we believe in being clean and having products and services to provide to the buying public, the prophet taught us. We believe in politics and engaging and leveraging our political power because we know that our political power is attached to economic power. So don't run off the black people. Teach the black people, teach the greatness of being a Moor, because one of our greatest challenges from my humble perspective as a so-called black man in America, a so-called Negro, is our ability to self-identify. So if you don't tell us what a Moor is, if you don't conjure up in our minds images, if you don't help me associate in an audio way, in a kinesthetic way, to something I can put my hands on and manipulate. Because as a children, we had dolls, we had G.I. Joe, we had rag dolls, we had blocks that we played with. Do we have any Alhambras that we buy our children that they can play in the castle of? Do we have mansions that we built, or boats from Tariq Ibn Zayed when he conquered that land that they call Spain today? What do we have to conjure up in the mind to take us away from being black, meaning in science according to death, and take us towards being a Moor? What is a Moor? Explain that to me. What is a Moorish American? Explain what that means to be Moroccan. So again, you draw more with honey than with vinegar.
Islam, brother. Islam. Beautiful. Beautiful demonstration. I definitely agree with you there. And I love that you said that, because once again, it just shows that the doors are wide open. Just for us to even answer that question, what it is to be a Moor, to demonstrate it, right? To bring forth the toys for the children, to give them pride in who they are, and to teach also who they are. You know, the books, the things that need to be created. You know, of course, the food and the things that we need to provide for ourselves, but even just in the teaching of who we are, the making of our own clothes, our own headdress, all of these things that we can provide for ourselves, you know, that just opens up the doors to economic security to us, because we can now step in and provide this, you know, and teach this to the world, and even in many ways provide it for the world, because many of the things that we do have influence on people, of course, in this country, but also in other countries as well. We see that with the movies and the TV shows and, of course, the music, right? But just the culture, the things that we do here, even in our lower state, we have great influence on the world.
Yes, we do.
And so, you know, we can influence the world in a positive direction. And this also provides a lane for us to now take the lead. You know, it's almost an enviable position if you look at it like that, because it's wide open for us. You know, we have this position to recreate ourselves by connecting ourselves to our ancestors. And then in doing that, there's so many lanes that we now must take up that are unfulfilled. They haven't reached their potential. You know, a lot of businessmen, they look at things, especially like you mentioned Shark Tank earlier. They want to see if this industry has already been tapped out. You know, is it even worth me getting in here? Has it already reached its potential? You know, where we're at right now, it's wide open. And the fact that there's so many lanes that need to be filled. So the potential is here and it's great. And then once again, just going back to that quote that you so beautifully put in the book, that it's in connection with our religious aims and beliefs. We must promote economic security. And then it's by no means is widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand. So there's no other thing that's needed among us at this time. So this is something that, you know, is a part of our lives. This is a part of our religion. So the opening of businesses falls under the scope of our religion, which means that potentially the businesses can be opened up under the temple. They fall under that scope. And that is powerful, brother. That's powerful. There's a lot of people out there, business owners paying a lot of taxes, that would love to take that lane up, But for us, this is a part of our religion. And, we have this charge of these divine instructions to get out there and fill up these lanes, to get out there and grow our food, to come up with our own educational system. There's so many products and things that will come out of this. And so, it's just amazing. And, the doors are actually wide open for us. And even as you said, in defining what a Moor is now, we've seen for years, many of the imagery, much of the imagery or the things that people think of or associate with Moors, they might not be necessarily positive. But when we go back to the words of the prophet, as you have them here, we see that a huge part of who we are, what we are to do, our identity even, is extremely positive. It's about increasing our economic security. And this is really what being a Moor should be. Like when you said the fruit of Islam, that made me think, hey, that's what Moors should be doing, right? Clean, sharp, and prosperous, word escapes my mind, but just being prosperous, starting businesses, and getting out there and basically hustling, getting out there and grinding, and that's really what should be the main public image for us, for being prosperous, economic minded people that are creators. Going back to that should be the main thing that people see when they see us. They see, the men wearing suits, looking sharp, starting businesses, participating, in the creation of businesses and economics. And on that note, I yield the floor, brother.
Studying, in the research library or the family library, looking at the Moorish Empire going back, they said there's a poem. It said 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And I say, just for fun, well, what was going on in 1491? Because we look at 1491, that was when the Moors lost Grenada and ended their nearly a century of rulership. And so we know a lot of our records were burnt, stolen, that Moors were dispersed across the planet and what have you. But in my study in acquiring books of ancient, hundreds of years old, going back to 1700s, and looking at the works of the Moors when they left, that there's three main components that were trade, manufacturing, and agriculture or agribusiness. And so coming up, that was the past, looking at the present where we are today. In 2020, we saw the beginning of pestilence. Soon after, we saw wars and rumors of wars. We're witnessing the dismantling of a global economy, going back to a nationalistic situation. We're in a situation now where we know the dollar to be a very strong currency, but because it is so strong, it's crushing other countries. We've seen bankruptcies of Sri Lanka. Pakistan is on the way. India has been in a very dangerous situation, but they are engaged in diplomacy over their economic situation. The war in Ukraine and Russia has caused a situation where there's significant disruption in the food supply, but also this is very important, that the disruption in the fertilizer supply of fertilizer. This is very important because not only now is food disrupted, that they say 2023, JP Morgan Chase, the World Bank, a number of others have set out a warning that 2023 will be the beginning of a recession. Now, we know my favorite brother, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, he said, white folks do lie. Let me go back to the words of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He said the pale-skinned European nations, the pale-skinned Europeans, that they don't always tell the full truth. And so we know if they say it's going to be a recession, we have a saying in the black community, quote unquote, black community, when black people when America catches a cold, black people catch pneumonia. So we are looking at a very dangerous financial situation or fiscal situation or economic situation inside the country. And so the plan of Noble Drew Ali was to go back to the fundamentals. There's going to be certain levels that are on an economy, certain levels. So this is from the 5-year economic program. This is one of the mechanisms. This is a mechanism I'm talking about that Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad used, the 5-year economic program. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he used a mechanism or an instrument called the Upliftment Fund or the Moorish Upliftment Fund. But the 5-year program of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a program that was done many times over. It's shown and proven many times over. Elijah Muhammad showed and proved that it works. For 3 years, he said, we will collect monies. For 3 years, send in your dollars, send in your nickels, send in your dimes for 3 years, and we will buy land. We will buy agribusiness. We will buy trucks. We will buy farmland. We will buy livestock. And it was through that basis, that fundamental basis, that foundation, that he was able to then have a construction company. So the first 5 years in this plan is agriculture. The second 5 years, it's a construction company. After the next 5 years, it goes to other various specific market sectors that he's creating, very specific market sectors. So this information, again, you got to read the Doctrine of Economic Security to really understand it. This is another document where I talk about the five-year economic program a little more specifically, and I get in depth again of the research of it because, again, Ghana has done it. Kwame Nkrumah, I'm getting excited, from Ghana, he came over and studied with the brothers. He was inspired by the forerunner, who? Marcus Garvey. So he incorporated the 5-year economic plan. Marcus Garvey talks about the 5-year economic plan. Ethiopia did a 7-year economic program. Germany did a 5-year or 7-year economic program. Russia did it. Pakistan did it. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he gave 2 sentences in Message to the Black Man, because a wise man doesn't have to say a lot of words. You can write volumes from a wise man. He said it like this. He said, paraphrasing, he said, Russia did it and they were successful, and so can you be. Pakistan did it and they were successful, and so will you be. And so to have these mechanisms, to have these tools, we don't have to go to the tools of the Caucasian. We have our own instruments of ancient, again, going back to what a Moor is, ancient wisdom, ancient, that we are drawing from this knowledge and offering light. Not saying that not only does black mean science, mean death in science, but it also means profitability in business. So come, let us have a dialogue and talk about more about black and what it means to be a Moor. And so all of these factors, again, going back to that instrument, that 5-year economic program, going back to that foundation of building and that engine being agriculture, and how to start your nation. Everybody eats. Everybody needs food. We are in a situation, a dire situation. So you talked about why do not more people preach it? I don't know why, but I know we are here today. I know God is with us and God is backing us. If we do the works and the righteous work, God will back our works. We are the chosen of God. I have no doubt in my mind we have served our 400 years. We are not what they say, the children of Israel. We are Bet Israel. We are the house of Israel. So when you say our religion being connected to our economics, the 12 tribes of Israel connecting to the 12 families, to 12 family businesses. So starting with Naphtali, Ephraim, and Asher, going to Gad, Judah, and Manasseh, going to Dan, the tribe of Dan, Zebulun, and Issachar, going to Benjamin, Reuben, and Simeon. All of these tribes representing a specific business. So all of these 12 businesses coming together, just like Jacob calling his children in Genesis 29 and in Genesis 49, he comes and calls them all together and he says, son, this is what you're going to be. You're going to be in the defense, the Department of Defense. Hey, you Ephraim, you're going to be in land management. Hey, Asher, we got education for you, Asher. When you go to Gad, you're going to be the Department of Housing. Judah, you know, Haile Selassie, you handle the Department of State. Manasseh, you know, we like what you do, Virgo. You know, you handle the Department of Agriculture. Dan, you handle a Department of Justice. Zebulon, you handle the Department of Commerce. Issachar, you handle the Department of Trade, Transportation. Benjamin, you be the Department of Labor. Reuben, you are it's coming. Benjamin Labor. Reuben is going to be like Simeon, but before Simeon, the Department of Health. Simeon being communications and also electricity or power generation. And so having the full gamut, because when you become president of the United States, you have a cabinet member for your different cabinets, these different parts of the world, parts of the nation that you're dealing with. So I've heard you on many of your broadcasts talk about the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The grand body is being served, has to be served by the cabinet members. The 12 tribes have to have a representative. When Jacob, later becoming Israel, called his sons together, he called them for a reason, for a purpose. We have work for you to do. Noble Drew Ali didn't call us for no reason. He didn't call us just to celebrate by ourselves, just to pop a bottle and everything is good. He brought us to come together to build a nation, to build a Moorish nation, to reclaim, to redeem. That's the words of the prophet, the words of the doctrine, to reclaim or to redeem that which was lost. So we are those great children of Israel. We are the original. We're not the grafted. We are the original. We have to get back to our original way, our original science. He said Moorish science. Moorish science. Don't leave that science off because he said we are all God's children of the Most High God. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, where do you find Allah? You find him in your heart. You find him in here. So we have to tap into what's here to create material, the material substance being the fruit of faith. We have to have faith and practice our faith, put our faith into practice and believing that what we have is true and working what is true and connecting with other lights to shine a brighter light like that sun, causing the 9 planets to rotate around the sun all at the same speed while maintaining its orbit. This is what the wisdom of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali gave to us. And I'm so excited to share with you this great doctrine of economic security. What an honor.
Brother, it's beautiful. And I love talking about this. And I think this is something that would change things overnight if we all began to study and put this into practice. Looking at the past, looking at what the Nation of Islam was able to do with the economic program, the following through of it, I see that the only thing that slowed things down, really, it's not really our people. It's the giving in to well, let me show you. Let me share something on the screen just briefly. So you mentioned that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said Russia did it. You know, all of these other nations did it. There's no reason we can't. You know, and if they faced opposition from outside, you know, we also face that. If you see these papers from the FBI counterintelligence program discussing how they would send letters to different leaders here. Maybe they'll send a letter to Minister Farrakhan or a leader over here, and they'll try to put out rumors that money is being sent to other directions, that, you know, money's being misappropriated and mishandled, you know, and that would cause us to distrust each other. And so all we need to do to counteract that is to put measures in place to hold ourselves accountable, to build up our own trust in what we're doing, so that if something like that were to take place in the future with people trying to, you know, break us apart, trying to make us have infighting, we already have our own measures in place to hold ourselves accountable, to build up our levels of trust. Because as you said, it's not really that hard. And group economics is so powerful. You know, even with a small group locally, you can just put up, you know, everybody put up a small portion of money, and you can, as a group, you can get things done. You know, you can buy real estate, you can start businesses. And so imagine if you're doing that locally, you know, in your local group or in your temple, but then you're also, as the prophet started with the per capita tax, with the uplifting fund, you're also sending a small portion to a national treasury. So you're doing these things on the local level, but you're also doing it as a nation. We can do everything that we need in-house. And if anybody else wants to contribute, as a brother shared a question, that's what I wanted to segue into this. If anybody wants to contribute, anyone, you know, from outside of our community wants to help, we welcome that. You know, we definitely help us, assist us, but we can get it done just working with our brothers and sisters. Now, there was a question from the chat. Brother said, how will one go about learning this in whole? How do I be a part of building community?
I would say first I would download, you know, the book, Doctrine of Economic Security. I would also download the Moorish Guide literature, or the Moorish Guide. Make sure I had the fundamentals that I would get to. Make sure I had the Circle 7 Quran, that I had the Quran questions, the 101s, that I had the what do they call it? The Divine Constitution and Bylaws, the questionnaire and additional laws, that I had all the fundamental documents. And then I would make sure that I was in attendance to the Columbus Muslim Mission 30 at 7 p.m. on Friday, and also on, I think it's 7 p.m. on Sunday, so that we could be in community one another. I've enjoyed, I'm here today because a good brother, Jason Bay, we had good dialogue in Dayton, and I'm here today because he referred me, you know, to his teacher and where he gets wisdom from. And so I had light to share. He said I have light too, and we had a good dialogue. And he went somewhere else to bring more light into the conversation. And so I'm here today because of that light that we had to share and that we're building. So let us continue to build. Make sure that you, again, tune in on Friday. Be a part of it. Ask questions like you're doing now. Ask questions. That's very important. Read the documentation. Ask questions and save your money. Don't spend your money. Don't spend your money. Save your money. Make sure that you are respecting the money, that you have an opportunity to spend money with your brother and sister. Try to circulate the money. When you purchase this Doctrine of Economic Security, you know, and I attend the meeting, you know, I pay charity. How did I pay charity? Because somebody bought my book. Isn't that beautiful? And so I'm able to circulate it back into the temple, you know. And what does the temple do? Well, the temple, you know, pays the bills. It pays the lights. Who does it pay? It pays the secretary. Well, who's the secretary? And then it pays the staff, you know, and then it's able to buy the believers maybe some, not chips, but, you know, some healthy food and things of that nature. So we're able to circulate those dollars. So let's be in community again on Friday, I believe it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also on Sunday. And of course, download the book. There's also going to be a Doctrine of Economic Volume number 3. I'll be putting that up shortly. It's about the excerpts of business from the Holy Quran, Circle 7. And again, take what you learn and attempt to apply it.
Islam, gratitude, brother. And so you have a volume 2 and a volume 3 coming out?
So volume 2, well, I have God put in me 12. I have 12 or 13 planned volumes. And so number 2 is my plan for commentary. And we don't need a lot of commentary from me initially. We need the words, the foundational stone of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We need those words and that wisdom from him. And so volume 1, again, from the writings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, I'm digging into the Quran questions. I'm digging into the questionnaire. I'm digging into the Constitution and Bylaws, the Moorish literature, and I'm taking vocabulary words out of those specifically. And then volume 2 is dedicated to commentary. That'll be somewhere down the road. Volume 3 is dedicated to the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That'll be volume 3. And then I'm skipping to volume 7, volume 12 and 13, which will be with a good brother, Northern H. Bay, Israel, with the Moorish Zion's Temple of Moorish Jews, or we say Beth Zion Talmud Torah, which is, you know, the House of Israel Torah study or Torah learning.
All right, beautiful. That sounds great, brother. Just want to let everybody know too the links to this brother's website and where you can purchase this book, The Doctrine of Economic Security, is in the video description. For the brother that asked, what time do we have our classes? They are Friday and Sunday at 7 p.m. You can go to moorishamericans.com to go to the website for our local temple, and the information is on there for our Zoom classes, so you can attend regardless of where you're at. And also you can send a donation. The button, the information is on there. So as always, we welcome donations to the temple. And you know, with those local institutions, with having temples, you know, hopefully inshallah, you know, in every city, where you may be starting out with just a few members and not collecting a lot of finances, you know, maybe just saving finances. But as it grows, the temple can grow and it can do more things. You know, the temple can start to purchase land. The temple can even open up businesses. You can start a business league or an investment group within your temple. And you can also do that as a collective with the members. So there's so many ways you can grow. And just having that community, you know, strengthens the bonds of trust that you have with each other. So now you have some Moors that you can trust and work with. And even if you don't know what you're going to do, you can start putting money up, you know, if not, well, finances. I'll just say start putting finances up and move from there. And that's something that everybody could do, regardless of where they're located. So you come to the temple to get the structure and to build those bonds of trust as you work. And as the prophet set it up, you can work through the temple to build your community. It should be the center of the community, because our ancient civilizations were set up and built around the temple. Our rulers were priest kings surrounded by the priesthood. All right. And you know what? On that note, though, brother, I yield the floor to you. If there's anything else that you would like to speak on and that you would like to share, please, brother, go ahead. I yield the floor.
Only thing I guess I will leave with you know, unity. You know, unity is so necessary for Moors today. There's more than one Moorish Science Temple of America groups or what have you. How do we find our way back together to one under that great prophet, Noble Drew Ali? It happens through righteous activity, righteous work. It happens through dialogue. It happens through learning to love, practicing love, and not practicing hate. You know, Moors gossip a lot of gossip, a lot of he said, she said, we said, they said, a lot of talking about a lot of other people. And, you know, one thing about work is productivity. You know, productivity, work divided by time, you know, is power. How powerful are you depends upon how much work you can do over a short period of time, hopefully. And so to build the power, it requires work of the Moorish nation, but it also it requires time to be lessened. You know, you don't want to take 30 years to bring this doctrine of economic security. We want to do it in a very short time. And you mentioned on trust, which is another business term, which is another accounting term as well. Building trust, making your word bond, striving to be righteous, telling the truth, seeking to treat others the way that you want to be treated. We need to stop gossiping. I want to say like women. That might not be the most righteous thing to say, but we have a lot of men that do a lot of gossiping, a lot of talking about people. Let's stay on the subject matter. Let's talk about ideas. Let's talk about the ideas and the wisdom that was given to us, not necessarily about who's doing what and who's not doing what. What are we doing today to bring our nation forward? We have a lot of sheiks and a lot of grand sheiks, and I'm looking for grand works today. Looking in the mirror first. Looking in the mirror first. Grand works today from these grand sheiks. We don't want to be sayers of the word. We want to be doers of the word. So I thank you all for allowing me this time. What a great blessing it has been. I look forward to building with you further and doing this great work in the future. I'm on Instagram, More Zion Trading Post and Botanica. I'm also on YouTube at More Zion Trading Post and Botanica. We're on Facebook at Moor Zion Trading Post and Botanica, and I'm continuing my grandfather's legacy through our newspaper, the Lunar Visitor Publishing Company. So feel free to check us out. I look forward to further dialogue with you all. Blessings to you and your family. Family is a wonderful thing. Shout out to my children, all of my 5 beautiful children. Daddy, love you. Peace and blessing to my beautiful wife, Zakia Sankara Jabbar. Not say daddy love you too, but I love you too. And so we happy to, again, build family business, build the Moorish nation, and do righteousness all in one sweep.
All right. Peace and blessings to you and your family, brother. It's been a pleasure having you on here. I love the book. I'm so glad that you wrote this and brought light to this important measure that that hasn't been discussed. I mean, I could quote the prophet again, right? It still hasn't been put in the proper light. And I'm so glad that you are doing that, brother. And I'm looking forward to more material from you. And just want to remind everybody, the links are in the links in the chat for the brother's website, where you can go and purchase this book. And the brother also has more material on there as well. So make sure you check that out. And want to thank you again for coming on. And that note, we're going to go ahead and close out, everybody. Make sure that you click that like or love button and hit the share button. And on that note, want to say peace and love, everyone.
Peace and
all
love.
Right.